The chapter starts at the Walrus School. Saul is trying to stop sleeping kids that are following Gunko's arrow. He tries to grab the first kid in line, but the girl is wrapped in invisible thorny vines, making Saul hurt his hands. He says, "Now let us return to the school. Oh, it hurts." Chopper says, "What's wrong, Saul?" And Robin says, "What happened? Were you stabbed by something?" The giants in the village send the firefighter squad to deal with the fire, but their fall is destroyed in the forest by the giant undead from the kids' imagination. Jarl, Dory, Kashi, and the giants in the village are in shock seeing the skeleton monsters. We too see Nami, Usopp, and Jinbei reacting to the news about the school and fire. So these thorny vines are going to be explained to be Summer's devil fruit, which we'll get into. And then these monsters, of course, are coming from what is actually Killingham's fruit, which we'll also get into, because we saw in the previous chapter that he's able to manifest the nightmares of people, and he manifested the nightmares of the children, and they came in the form of some of these skeleton monsters, the Draugrs. There's a few other things too, but we're just seeing them react in this chapter. And then the fire, of course, was caused by Loki hitting the Atom Tree with Ragnir from the lightning that it summoned. Cut to the forest, and we see the three God Knights are having a meal at a luxurious table while they are observing the chaos at Walrus School. Summer says, "Yeah, ha 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 ha, did you see that? The shocking face that giant made when he was pierced by the thorn? Every loved one has their thorns, isn't that right?" Gunko says, "Don't ask me." Summer says, "What a sad woman you are, Gunko. Listen now, love is passion. The passion that will make you hug the thorns as it becomes more visible the closer you are. You just have to do this game with parents and kids. It doesn't get any better. The parents will hold their child close regardless of the thorns, and the kids will witness their worst nightmare reality, watching their parents die up close as they let out their own screams. Here, we make murdering sensational." So yeah, Summers is a typical celestial dragon psychopath, and he's actually probably coming from one of the most prestigious families, possibly. As Summers talks, we see that some vines appear in his right arm. Then we discover in a presentation box that Summers has the power of the Iba Iba no Mi fruit. From Ibara, that means thorny flower. Summers is a thorn human. So yeah, we found this out yesterday. It turns out that Summers actually doesn't have the fear and or nightmare fruit. He actually has the thorn fruit, which is, oddly enough, what we originally speculated about back when he was first introduced. And I looked at the handle on his sword, I was like, oh, I guess that's telling us what his ability is. At first glance, it doesn't seem like this is an absolutely busted fruit, but considering that he's Holy Knight, I'm sure that he has awakened this as well and probably made it just completely busted. Gunko is the one pointing the kids' way with her arrow. She's making them walk the main road through the village, making giants feel powerless to stop them. Killingham notices that they don't have enough salt, so he mentions it to Summers, and a cloud appears over Summers' head where he imagines the salt. Then Killingham uses his power to put Summers to sleep and then pulls the salt out of Summers' dream cloud. In another presentation box, we discover that Killingham has the power of the Ryu Ryu no Mi, or dragon, mythical type model Kirin. Killingham is a dream manifesting human. Okay, so this is changing from yesterday. The original translation that we got said that his devil fruit was the dragon model Qilin, or Quilin, which was like a Chinese mythical creature. Now it's going back to Kirin, which we originally thought it was, because they both look similar. Kirin is a Japanese yokai, but maybe the Kirin and the Quilin are like one and the same, both based off of the same thing. Regardless, both of these things don't have like dream or sleep abilities. So I guess this is just something Oda added to it, which is fine. And I talked about this yesterday, but I think it's cool that he's just doing his own thing and he's not trying to stay so closely tied to what the existing lore and mythologies are. But also Killingham can just make you go to sleep and then manifest your dreams into a tangible object, which is like so powerful. Killingham says, "Oh, rock salt, as expected of a gourmet connoisseur. You can get up now." Summer says, "Wow, regarding the MMA, you manifested from the brat's dreams." This chapter doesn't explain what initials MMA means, but in Japanese it read as Muma. So yeah, me being a huge MMA fan my entire life, I can't help but see mixed martial arts, but obviously that's not it. Killingham says, of course, they will be made to be running along with the kids. Hey, this salt is the best. Gunko says, give me some as well. Gunko becomes like a kid when she tastes Killingham's food and finds it tasty, but we can't see her face. She eats with the bandage on, lol. Killingham explains that food tastes good but provides no energy because it comes from dreams. Oh, interesting. Okay, I guess that's kind of similar to Streusen's fruit. I mean, Streusen can like turn objects into food, but they don't have any taste or anything. So they can provide energy, but like this is just, it tastes good, but it provides no energy. So then I guess this probably gives us insight into like the strength of the creatures that he manifests. They could probably be defeated easily because we saw Saul and that other walrus principal guy beat the Jormungandr. And those guys probably aren't really that strong. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Hofsco, because I just upgraded my Hav Alpha 26-inch fat tire electric bike with the rear rack. This is something that I've really needed for a while now, and I'm glad I finally got it because I could have storage and cargo on my bike. Now, I'll get a little more into that, but let me just point out that I absolutely love my Hav Alpha. This is probably my favorite possession. I ride it almost every single day. I love cruising around on it, commuting, running errands, and now I can easily go to the grocery store and store my groceries on this thing with the rear rack attachment that I just got. It has a 1300 watt motor, a top speed of 28 miles per hour. That's right, this thing is really fast. It has a payload capacity of 450 pounds, a 48 volt 28H battery with a range of 60 miles, a 7 gauge shifter, a great LED display, a headlight and a tail light, as well as really responsive hydraulic brakes. And no terrain has really ever given me issues with this thing, whether it's on the trail, on the road, or in the woods. So guys, check the link in the description and make sure you use code BIGZ for $100 off of your Hav Alpha 26-inch fat tire bike. Thanks guys. Summers complains that this game will be too easy to clear since they can easily transport the kids to the ship at this rate. Gunko says something unexpected will happen since Yonko Straw Hat is also on Elbaf. The God Knights notice the kids are on branch number 8 and they are heading towards fire. But Summers says that if this group cannot clear the game, they will just have to try the next group instead. Yeah, Summers is just, full-blown psychopath, despicable, curly mustache villain. Go figure. Cut to the underworld, where Loki tries to threaten to kill everyone. In an amazing double page, Luffy uses a new technique called Ude Fusen, arm balloon, and it's similar to the Hone Fusen, bone balloon, but Luffy only inflates his right arm. Then Luffy hits Loki's body with a very light punch and Loki falls down unconscious. Zoro says Loki is on the verge of death. He thinks Loki was just bluffing to get out of the sea stone cuff. And then he planned to run somewhere and falls down here instead. So yeah, this is definitely protecting Loki. It's not like it's just showing, oh yeah, Luffy destroyed Loki, guys. Loki's a fraud. No, he was clearly at 1 HP. He had been sitting down for 6 years, chained to a tree with sea stone cuffs. Then he got beat up by Gunko and stabbed by freaking Shamrock. So yeah, understandable that he's at 1 HP, like I said, and getting knocked unconscious by Luffy. Not really a big deal. Luffy begs the Giants to help Loki. He says he doesn't want to watch and let someone die, no matter what type of person. Gerd and the other Giants agrees to help, so Gerd treats Loki's wounds. Then we see a little flashback about Hajrudin and Loki's past. First, there's a panel with King Harold talking to Kid Loki and Hajrudin. Harold's face is shaded, but he still had the 2 horns in that moment. Hajrudin looks similar to when we saw him in Big Mom's flashback. Loki was already taller than Hajrudin at the time, and his eyes were covered with bandages too. Harold says, "You both are my precious sons. I wish that you two will support Elbaf together, hand in hand as my heirs." Then we see Loki was able to defeat Hajrudin easily, even when they were children. Loki used a spiked kanabo as a weapon when he was a kid. It looks like Kaido's kanabo. Whoa, okay, so this goes back to that theory that sprung out of everywhere in the internet once we saw what Harold looked like, and he kind of looked like Kaido. I mean, not kinda, he looks a lot like him. He even has like the same goatee thing. So now we have another Kaido parallel here. And man, is Oda just straight up telling us that Kaido is the son of Harold and the half-brother of Loki and Hajrudin? Because we know that Harold was with multiple women, because Loki and Hajrudin have 2 different mothers. So why would he just stop there? Maybe he has a bunch of kids, or it's just Kaido, Loki, and Hajrudin. Because that would explain how Kaido got his ancient giant blood. If he does have it, I mean, that just explains the horns. But his horns are obviously not the same as Loki's, and it's kind of implied that Harold has the same type of horns as Loki, because the scars on Harold's head are like where Loki's horns are. Like, they don't look like the typical ancient giant horns. They look like demonic horns, or, Loki horns, or like, Loki from the MCU horns. So if it is true, and Kaido is, the son of Harold, then I guess he got with a woman that was kind of like Yamato. Because clearly Kaido isn't a giant. He's closer to like a buccaneer in size. Loki says, "Are you kidding? No way I'm accepting a shorty weakling like you as my big bro. Remember, you're a B word." I can't say that, but you can read it right here. "Not a real son of fathers." Hajrudin says, "Your mother came from a tainted line." So yeah, this is like a common theme in One Piece. Although they don't really say this word all that often, I'm glad that they're saying it here. And this is probably also the case with Kaido. He is also probably a B word. If he is. I don't want to like put it out there that it's confirmed, because it's definitely not. Back to the present. In the last page of the chapter, Hajrudin becomes furious and picks up an axe, ready to kill Loki. What a coward. Road and Stanson stop him as best they can. Road says, "Ugh, wait!" Stanson says, "Don't get ahead of yourself, Hajrudin." Hajrudin then says, "I have never once forgiven this guy. He spoke ill of my mother and slayed my father." Loki says, "Go ahead and do it then, you pathetic berserker." Despite Hajrudin's fury, Loki speaks to him calmly. Hajrudin is in shock when he hears Loki's words. Loki says, "If you have time to be caught up in your personal drama, look at that whole forest. Don't tell me even you really think that I wanted to kill father." End of chapter. So yeah, we'll go over this again. This goes into what we've been talking about for a while now, and it's that Loki was probably justified in killing King Harold. And long story short, Harold was probably working with the Celestial Dragons or the World Government or the Holy Knights. He was probably grooming Elbaf in an attempt to give control over it to the World Government. Because that's what Shamrock says that he ultimately wants. And Summer says to Shamrock, he's like, "Hey, why are you here? Are you gonna go visit Harold's grave?" Implying that they were somewhat close or something. They probably had correspondence to some degree. So Loki probably found out what was going on, and he was like, "Hey, I'm not going to let you do this," because we know how Loki feels about the Celestial Dragons. He was offered to become a Holy Knight. He was like, "No, you guys suck. I don't want to be a weird sociopath like you guys." So Harold was like, "Oh, hey, well, I'm going to have to kill you if you're not going to join us." And then Loki was like, "Nah, I'm going to kill you actually, but it's self-defense, so I'm still kind of a good guy." I'm assuming that's what happened. Something like that. We are going to get the reveal to this in a flashback eventually. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.